Well, good evening, and thank you for joining us for this very special edition of H360 Live. My name is Cortland Long, and with me is Dave Duplay, my colleague from Healthio360. Our special guest this evening is Anthony Daniels, a young man in the fight of his life living with Hodgkin's lymphoma. Anthony is currently waiting for a match so he can receive a bone marrow transplant, which could possibly save his life. Also with us is Helen Domestius from the organization Delete Blood Cancer, whose mission is to register as many people as possible to become bone marrow donors so they can provide patients like Anthony with a second chance at life. Working together, we will delete blood cancer.
So if you happened to catch our show last Tuesday, we had Mark and Jack in the studio from Delete Blood Cancer, and we found some really eye-opening statistics that I think it's important for us to share with you this evening. Did you know that every 4 minutes, someone in the U.S. is diagnosed with a blood cancer? And for many of those patients, a bone marrow transplant is their best chance of survival. While 30% of those patients will find a match in their family, 70% are going to rely on a friend or someone outside of the family. That's about 14,000 patients a year. There's 2 ways to donate, and this is very important: peripheral blood stem donation and bone marrow donation. Guys, thanks for coming into the studio today. Anthony, it's good to see you. Helen, thanks for making the trip up from D.C.
Thank you.
I tried to order a little better weather, but unfortunately that didn't happen. Anthony, you have an amazing story. And we all have a very important message to push out to the audience and to everybody watching this evening. I want to start really, Anthony, by kind of stepping back a little bit and going through your journey with cancer. I know that it's come back a couple of times. So let's start with that very first one.
Yes, so we're really excited to hear about your partnership, but Anthony, you've had a number of recurring cancers. I believe it's come back for the 4th time.
4th recurrence, yes.
Can you take us back to the very first day you were diagnosed?
I was diagnosed on December 22nd, 2011. It was kind of a pretty rough process how it happened. It took about 10 doctors over a 3.5 month period where we really didn't know what was going on with me. I lost probably around 50 pounds and I felt very fatigued, and I had this crazy itch. So I thought that at the time that I had, some skin disorder, so I kept seeing dermatologists. So one day I went to a dermatologist right after one of my finals at school, and she told me we got a biopsy on my leg, and I went to the hospital for blood work. Ironically, she told me the test that determined that I had cancer or not. She told me that I probably could have done it 3 months later. My mom ended up pushing for it, as she does with everything, and then found out I had a 20 centimeter mass in my chest.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it takes that long to get diagnosed, and then
It's not supposed to.
It's not supposed to. Yeah, obviously. I hope not, right?
Yeah.
But so when you hear those 3 words, and I've talked to a lot of people, and I've gotten a lot of opinions and stories, but you're sitting in front of the doctor and you hear those 3 words: you have cancer. What goes through your mind at that point? What happens in the next hours and days and weeks to really prepare yourself for this journey?
Well, maybe it was because of my lack of maturity at the time, or because what was going on in my life. A lot of things weren't really going my way. So when I was presented with that information with my parents, it was I was shocked, but the direction in which my life was going in, I wasn't really surprised. I was kind of taken back on it just because I did a school presentation for my public speaking class on cancer, which was like 2 days prior to my diagnosis. That was like a 30-minute presentation. So, I was kind of more thinking that it was kind of crazy how I did this month's worth of research for something that ended up being my life. But I think it really was the lack of maturity because I was only 20 years old. So I really took it better than I thought I would, honestly. But when you see your parents especially my parents aren't really that emotional. They don't cry and stuff like that. So when I saw them break down, I felt like I had to be strong in that moment. But it's every time my cancer's reoccurred, it's been harder each time just because I know what I have to go through, and I'm getting older, and I know, because at the time I kind of thought I had this invincible kind of trait. I didn't think it was really possible for me to die or anything like that. So not saying that I still think that now, but it's definitely more realistic than it was at the time.
Yeah.
So it's touch and go with my feelings, so to speak.
So you get through cancer number one, you get through that journey, you come out the other end, and you're thinking, okay, the old Anthony's back, right? You're going to strap on those skates, you're going to be out playing hockey, you're going to be doing things that a young man your age does, and then it comes back.
Mm-hmm.
And so did you, when it came back, when you heard that it was back, did you think to yourself, well, you know what? I've been down this path before. I licked it once. I know the drill, and here we go again.
Surprisingly, not really. Honestly, I knew that if my cancer came back, I would need a stem cell transplant. And you hear about the horrible stories, and I knew people during the first time I had cancer that went through that process. So the one thing I was truly afraid of wasn't really the chemo or anything like that, was the thought of me actually having to spend a month in a hospital through a very painful process, which when I had it was a very painful process. So when I came back, each time it's come back, it's kind of weird. I feel like I'm getting out of the gate too easily no matter how much I suffer. So I'm not really surprised, but I was definitely scared and disappointed because I knew the direction in which my life had to go. And it's hard because you beat it. It took me about a couple weeks to get my life back in order and I tried to forget about what just happened, and then it just, bam, you know what I mean? Just right when I got my life back together.
Yeah.
I was situated.
It's the left hook you didn't see coming.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
About how much time did you have between each diagnosis?
The first one was 3 months. After my stem cell transplant was 6-7 months. Then it was 3-4 months, and the last one was like a month. So I don't even really count that, but technically it's my 4th reoccurrence, but they've been very short, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So a lot of people usually get the big gaps. I really haven't, so it sucks, but it's all right though.
Now, Helen, were you in Anthony's life at this point with cancer number 3?
Cancer number 3,
yes.
Which was, 17 months ago? Yes.
Yes. So, and how did you guys meet?
We technically met about a year ago, but I have been advocating for Anthony and trying to find his match about 17 months ago. And literally just communicating through social media, trying to get, the okay from him before I would talk about his story to other people.
Yeah.
In order to get some support.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She's worked very hard.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a great organization, and like I said, we had 2 of your folks in, and we're very impressed at the work that they're doing and the dedication to the mission.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Anthony, so cancer number 3,
Mm-hmm.
and now all of a sudden, cancer number 4. And you got to be thinking to yourself, man, I've gotten in the ring 3 times with this stupid cancer, right? And I've given my best shot. I mean, it's the uppercuts and the left hooks to the chin.
Everything.
And I just can't knock this cancer out. This opponent is one tough cookie, right? And so what goes through your mind now? I mean, you're in that ring and you're going at it. And so what's going through your mind now?
You need a match.
Well, yeah, I need a match. I mean, that's
Right.
the most important thing, obviously. But it's a lot harder now because I feel like I have more responsibilities now. It wasn't just, I just got to survive for me and my family, and that's it. I've been very blessed with the fact that a lot of people are inspired by my story. So I've helped a lot of people through this entire journey. So it's not just, I'm just fighting for myself and my family. I feel like I'm fighting for everybody. So there's a lot of pressure in it because it's just, you invest so much in your life and you try so hard and no one wants to fail, especially someone like me that's as stubborn as I am. I don't like to lose. So it's I like to kind of think about it as just it's a nice competitive opponent. You know, I have to tell myself that, or you know, I'll probably go crazy.
Yeah.
You know.
And Helen, what do you think about that? I mean, it is a tough opponent.
It is. Anthony was not.
Is he that stubborn?
Yes,
Huh?
very stubborn.
Proud.
Yes. He was not very open about his diagnosis. He didn't expose himself. And I knew that just based on his personality, his family the same way. They just handled it within their family unity.
Very private people.
Very private. And I took that with all respect. And, you know, Delete Blood Cancer, we're proud of the fact that we don't expose our patients unless it's something they would like for us to do. So we basically cater to whatever needs at the time that they ask for.
Yeah.
So that's...
They do wonderful work, honestly. They're very, you can just tell that every single one of them, they're really passionate about it, because you meet all these people that want to help, but there are points when you kind of see when they're working that it's kind of a little sketchy how they go about things, and it's a little selfish. But Delete Blood Cancer, every single one of them are absolutely fantastic. And I'm very blessed to be able to work with them, just because it was really hard for me to express my story, especially at the beginning, just because first 2.5 years, very few people knew I had cancer, unless you personally knew me before. And it's hard to talk about your pain and, you know, your fears and everything like that. So they've been very good with helping me ease into the process and protect me so that I don't say things that I don't want to, or get pressured into certain things, you know, just like this.
Yeah.
It's a great environment, you know, I'm not nervous or anything like that. And
Well, now I just tell him what he has to do and what time to be there.
We are trained. You know, we all get trained at some point.
Yeah, right.
I'm told what to do every day, and I do it. Yeah.
So you used to be very private about your condition, and then
Yes.
a decision was made, you know, to come out, and you have a couple of campaigns, To Be Strong, Anthony's Fight. You know, were those a product of that decision, and how much have you guys worked together on either of those campaigns?
Well, we have, right around the time I met Helen was the time that I made a decision that I was going to try and help people. Or at least the film that I made was, I just expected if I could just help out one person, then it was successful. And it kind of blew up a lot more than I thought it was going to. So she has been with me through the entire process of me expressing my story. So everything I've done, she's been a part of, for the most part. At least I think so, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so along with Delete Blood Cancer. Because it's not, I'm very lucky to have that, just because you get in certain situations that you don't want to be in, and especially by yourself telling your story on your own, you always want someone to kind of watch your back, and, you know, that's what she does. At least I like to think so.
So, wow, four cancers, all the chemo, all the needles, the poking, the prodding, the procedures. And you said you had a transplant once before?
Yes.
Yeah. And so when you heard that you needed another one, was that a surprise, or did you intuitively...
No, I knew, and I was very disappointed on it. And, I mean, I didn't really get lucky with how I have to go about things. I don't know if you guys know this, but my brothers were perfect matches for each other, and just not for me. And I also had a perfect match, too, but they never answered the phone. So that's kind of how this whole thing came about. I love helping people, but I also need to help myself too, and that's why it kind of gave me a nice little push to try to buckle down and try to raise awareness.
Yeah.
And I tell him that often. I'm like, I know you want to help other people, but can we just focus on you?
I'm trying, and I'm not doing a very good job at it, but I'm trying.
Well, hopefully this broadcast tonight and the one that we did with Jack and Mark earlier last week will help to raise awareness and help to find you a match.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, we had a year ago, we had fantastic support from a handful of NHL hockey teams during their annual Hockey Fights Cancer campaign, which is really sort of what boosted our relationship as a recruiter and a patient, because I knew at that point he was going to need to come out with his story because the New Jersey Devils got heavily involved, and he was going to have to attend a game and yeah, expose himself to thousands of fans. So from there is really where it boosted his story for me and went viral at some point from that. So.
Oh. Well, speaking of hockey players, and you are quite the athlete, we know that sometimes doctors will recommend patients who are undergoing chemotherapy treatment rest, take it easy, but you're going the complete opposite direction. You're going to the gym every night. So what is motivating you to really push your body and your mind so hard?
At first I was just doing it really for myself, just to kind of prove a point. And when I first was sick, there was just this stereotype that just because you were sick, they talked to you as if like you couldn't do certain things, and everyone thought just because you had cancer you were weak. So because it's me telling me that I can't do something, I'm just automatically going to want to do that, and that's immediately what they said at first. So when I got it a second time, because the first time I kind of just like laid low, just like everybody does, and there's nothing wrong with that, obviously, but I was seeking for the feeling to feel powerful, and I couldn't. So when I got it a second time, I just kind of went for it, and it was really hard, but I ended up getting pretty good at it and doing things that probably aren't the smartest things, but I'd rather live my life than live by a set of rules or just because they think it's better or something like that. You know what I mean? And so at first it was like that, but I found out that it's because of a lot of people that are inspired by my story, it's a lot easier for me to use that and to think about that, to kind of push me to get into the gym or to do things every single day, because some days I don't want to get out of bed. And it's just like that extra motivation, that extra fuel to just let me get in and out, because it is I feel very good about myself when I'm done, because it's something that's very hard. I'm sweating and my eyes are burning from all the chemo and I want to throw up, and next thing you know, like 2 hours go by and I finished it. And it's an accomplishment, because I think that everyone needs to have little goals here and there to keep your mind going, and just so that you really believe in yourself. And in my eyes, if I'm still moving, I'm not going to die. That's how I think about it. So the day that I can't work out, the days that I can't, that's when I have to start worrying. So.
But 2 hours?
Sometimes,
I'm healthy. I've got to step up my gym action. I'm very intimidated right about now to ask the next question. But I understand you were big into hockey as a young man. You had a lot of promise, and then you turned to boxing. What got you into the ring?
Well, I always was kind of fascinated by the sport. My dad did it, and certain people in my family were involved in it. And when I was playing hockey, I had when I was like 17, 18, we had to do that as part of our training methods or whatever it is. And
fight?
Yeah, I had to fight, yeah. Got it right. And when I stopped playing, the thing is, I love weightlifting and everything like that, but I really love competing, and just the whole aspect of the sport is just on you, and it's you versus somebody else. It's just literally the last thing you would think anybody with cancer would do, so it was more appealing, and I also loved it. So just one day I was in the gym, and I saw one of the boxing coaches, and I just walked in there. I remember walked in there, I was bald, and I looked awful, and I just put on gloves the same day, and then I just fell in love with it, because it became like my sanctuary. Especially when I would fight, I wouldn't think about my cancer. So if I can get like 10, 15 minutes of just not thinking about cancer, just thinking about getting punched in the face, it was great, just because I had that relief. It sounds a little crazy, but it's working for me, so.
Good.
Yeah.
Anthony, you have this incredible spirit and this will to fight hard every day. Were you always like this when you were growing up as a kid?
Be honest.
Thanks. No, probably not. I just really want to do the best that I can, and I know that when you're not really fighting for just yourself, it kind of pushes you to do more. So I can't just say it's just pure motivation on my end. I mean, I started it, but now I have so many reasons to fight now, so it keeps me in there, and it makes me a lot stronger, and that's the most important thing. Emotionally, it really it keeps me strong, it keeps me focused, and physically, obviously, it makes me feel good too, but emotionally, really, it keeps me strong, and that's why I do it.
I wouldn't want to get in the ring with him, would you?
Oh, of course.
Right after the show.
So, Anthony, if you had one take-home message, if you were to look all the viewers who are at home tonight in the eye, what would you want to say to them about getting on the bone marrow donor registry?
One message. That by donating, I can promise from everybody that I've ever spoken to, it will honestly change your life. It gives you the opportunity for one time in your life to truly be a hero. And I know it kind of sounds crazy, but it's completely painless, it's quick, takes like 10 seconds. And when you're called upon to save somebody's life, it seems scary at first, but everyone that goes through it that I've spoken to, their life has changed and they feel like a hero, because in my opinion, I'm not the hero, it's the person that donates and gives a piece of themselves to somebody else that truly is the hero. That's the message I have to give.
And Helen, your organization is fantastic. I've gotten the opportunity to know you a little bit today, know your colleagues from last week, and what you're doing to help people and build awareness and get people on the registry is really, I can't tell you, it's such important work. And I know your organization has a message for our viewers as well. So if you could address our viewers and our members at home and let them know from your organization, what message would that be?
Actually, to piggyback on what Anthony was just saying, helping us raise awareness on the importance of bone marrow and the donation process. There is a major, myth of the pain that, donating, what it causes. Our job is to educate our own audience, and, college students especially, patients. We are always there to help our patients that are out there that they don't even know we exist, they don't know where to go, what kind of help. Our message is that we're here. Just like what I'm doing with Anthony, there's 20 others just like me that we do the same thing.
Yeah, and I'd like to let our viewers at home know that 100% of Team Healthy 360 is on the registry. And it was so easy. It was 2 swabs. It took less than 15, 20 seconds. And you do feel so good about yourself. So please, for those of you watching at home, I urge you to please consider going, getting swabbed, and get on the list. It's going to save people's lives, and you will feel fantastic about it, I guarantee you. Well, Anthony, I want to thank you for signing the boxing gloves here. I don't know if our viewers can see them sitting on the table there, but one has your signature and the other has #Anthony'sFight. I want you to know we're going to keep these in the office.
I appreciate that.
And we're in your corner, pal. We're in your corner. And we have something for you. So I'm going to let Cortland do the honors.
Mm-hmm. We have this award. It's called the Our Human Spirit Award, and it is meant to honor people who have been battling a chronic condition or caregiving for someone with one, and you put all that aside and you're going above and beyond to make the world better for everyone. So we think you're a hero. Someone out there has nominated you for this and they think you're a hero. I'm sure all of our viewers do as well. You've gotten thousands of people on the Delete Cancer Bone Marrow Donor Registry. Thank you for all your work.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I want to second that. When we came up with the idea of giving this award out, of course we didn't know you, but you exemplify everything that award is. So I'm very, very happy for you.
Thank you.
And we're in your corner. Well, that's our show for this evening. I'd like to thank Anthony and Helen for coming in once again. I'd like to thank the viewers at home for tuning in, and I'd like to thank our sponsors for making this all possible. Remember, all of our episodes can be viewed on demand at healthy360.com, and our podcast can be found in the iTunes Store. Healthy 360 can also be found on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest. And please don't forget to use the hashtag #RealStories when posting. So on behalf of myself, Cortland Long, and the HealthyO360 family, we wish you a very pleasant evening. We'll see you tomorrow for our regular broadcast, and we're going to leave you with a short video this evening from Anthony. Good evening.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast are those solely of the HealthyO360 hosts and our guests for this broadcast. These views and opinions do not in any way reflect the views and opinions of our sponsors, advertisers, or other organizations on HealthyO360, including our community members.